Hello, everyone. We are John and Will, and this is the John and Will Show, episode 2 for October 2nd, 2019, and we're recording. So what are we talking about today, John?
Oh, man, we are talking about whatever you want to talk about. You had articles that you pulled up, right?
Yes, I did. I have some articles here. This one, actually, my mom found for me. It was out of her ARP magazine, ARP Bulletin, because, she's unfortunately that old now. So she gets the ARP magazine. I'm not a big fan of ARP myself, but, it is what it is. This article is in the Your Money page. Get the real deals at outlet malls. Basically 5 items to think about when going to outlet malls. Don't judge a deal by the original prices. Do watch for quality red flags. Do time it right. Don't miss out on extra discounts. And do ask about return policies. Fairly good information. And I did not know, and now they have in the lower right corner here, the number of outlet malls and the number of conventional shopping malls. And apparently outlet malls are surging over conventional malls. I've known for some time that conventional malls have been going down in terms of popularity and whatnot, but I didn't know outlet malls were coming up in popularity.
So when you say outlet malls, can you explain the difference between a conventional shopping mall and an outlet mall?
Outlet mall would be considered places that have stores that are specifically tuned to getting rid of product, basically surplus product, if you will. Places, these are the businesses like Gap, like Cabela's, not Cabela's, but Levi's is a big one. They list 10 of them there. We have a big outlet mall in Gilroy that we like to go to.
So when you think outlet mall, you think like the outlets in Gilroy, or like I think Turlock has one.
Turlock has a few.
Okay.
Tulare has a big outlet mall section. Places that are these big name brands, but they're lower priced, supposedly lower priced than their normal stores.
Okay.
Than their respective regular shopping stores. I don't really see a difference between the two of them, because I go to the outlets in Gilroy and I say, just because it says outlets, what makes it special?
Well, yeah, I'm thinking the Gilroy outlets, it feels like a conventional shopping mall.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I mean?
It's a strip mall.
It's a strip mall. So it's instead of being an indoor mall like say Manchester here in town.
Yeah, right.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's why. Your question is quite on the nose, because again, to the average person, the difference between a conventional mall and an outlet mall, maybe. Conventional mall, you think of indoors. Has an indoor space. So in order to get to the businesses, you have to go inside, and so you're protected from the weather. Whereas an outlet mall is a strip mall, and so why is that any different than any other strip mall that we see in the country?
Right.
Again, prices. I don't think so. I've on occasion wondered if maybe the prices at the outlet mall are higher than the same business in a conventional mall or a different strip mall. I haven't done my own research on that, but according to that article, the company or the group, the nonprofit group that did some research, they found that on occasion prices are a little higher at outlet malls.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is one, obviously this must be an AARP article because millennials don't shop at malls.
No, unfortunately.
Being a millennial myself, I avoid malls if I can. And if I'm going for a deal and the best bang for my buck, I'm definitely going to shop online.
No, right. Shop online. That's what everyone does nowadays. Amazon.
Walmart.
Others, Cabela's and Bass Pro, since they're merged.
What's funny is any place that has a outlet mall store, you can probably get a better deal, at least the same deal, online.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the items in the article. It does suggest that when you see a price, pull out your phone and check the Walmart, or same product at various stores, Amazon, Walmart, wherever. I'm just naming the biggest names, obviously, because they're the ones I think of off the top of my head. But there are smaller companies too that offer, great deals. They may not offer free shipping. Hooray for free shipping! But you should always compare. That's the biggest, most important thing you can do for pricing. If you want to get the best deal, compare.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I pay for the Amazon Prime, so.
Oh, same here. I'm a long-time subscriber to Amazon Prime. Yeah. And, 1-day shipping. Oh, my goodness. Now, I live an hour away from Fresno, so I don't get 1-day shipping. At least not yet. Maybe someday. They'll definitely fly their drones over my head. I mean, hell, UPS got the drone contract now.
Did they really?
Well, the FAA has granted the UPS, United Parcel Service.
Okay.
Big Brown, if you will, permission to fly drones only to hospitals to start. But they are the first major commercial shipping company to get FAA approval, and this was announced just yesterday, to be able to fly drones for package delivery. Again, not just to hospitals, but which is makes sense, I suppose. When you need it delivered, you need it delivered fast.
You're saying UPS, right?
UPS, the Big Brown, brown truck, yeah. We want to bring Big Brown truck to drive. Remember those days of the NASCAR connection when Sterling Martin was it? No. Was it Sterling? Was it? Who was the driver? Mark Martin. Yeah, it was Mark Martin. Was whoever it was. Mark Martin, I believe it was. Was driving the UPS sponsored car.
Okay.
And UPS did these tie-in commercials with to encourage people to write in and say we want Mark to drive the truck on the track,
right.
Which obviously
right.
not safe to do, not
totally
not
safe.
even.
Come on.
Oh yeah, totally safe. Oh yeah, that big brown boxy truck competing with all the other NASCAR cars. I would love to see that. I would have. I mean, for one time, just for maybe one lap or something, that would have been fun.
I'm sure you put the right engine in that thing, you could make one go fast on a NASCAR car.
Oh, absolutely,
it can be done. Like
hell, anything can be done.
What's the top speed of a NASCAR vehicle now? Like
almost like 180, I think.
180. Like they make production cars. Like who's a Bugatti? Bugatti's car comes off the lot at 210.
Oh
like,
my
max speed.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like you have one of those big brown UPS trucks. You
empty it out, make sure it's slimmed down.
Empty it out.
I mean, in terms of
put all the weight on the bottom.
So it stays on the track. Yeah,
right.
So then,
you could put like an 18, like a V. What is it?
V8?
No.
No. I don't know much. I know nothing about engines, so.
So you put like a V12. In the middle of the vehicle.
Oh, that sounds big.
It is big. I think the Viper had one at one point. But you could put like a huge engine in there because you have all that space.
Oh, sure.
You could add extra gas. You could throw in some nitrous. You know what I mean? Like you have all that room, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
And you can make it so they never have to like come in for a pit because you have all that extra space, right?
Extra storage for fuel.
Right.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I'm just saying you could make it work.
Oh, I'm sure. It
would
could
be hilarious to see too.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's possible. Anything's possible. If you want it done, it's possible. Anything can be accomplished when you put your mind to it, for sure. And so I remember those commercials, those promotions for UPS back in the day. That was back in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, thereabouts. Mm-hmm. Back when NASCAR was actually fun to watch, before it was changed, before Bill France died, all the good old days, if you will. But
I'm gonna have to break it to you.
Yeah,
NASCAR's never really been fun to watch.
Okay.
My in-laws will disagree with me on that, but the only fun part of NASCAR are the parts that you're not supposed to consider fun, right? That moment when somebody crashes. And you're like,
yes.
That was awesome. That car going 150 just flipped like 47 times and then burst into flames. It's exciting.
Everyone, that's what people are watching for. Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, that's typical. Man, that's human nature. We're waiting for the crash.
Yeah.
We're always waiting for the crash. I mean, that's just. We don't want anybody to crash. We don't. We say we will say loudly, no, we're not watching for the crash. But in our minds, we're saying, crash.
Yeah.
Burn,
for sure.
Big fire.
For sure.
Nobody died. Just crash and burn.
You don't want anyone to get hurt.
No,
it's always exciting to see a car do
no
a somersault.
Injuries. The Rusty Wallace wreck of '92, I think it was. Yeah, mm-hmm. I had a friend who was a diehard NASCAR fan and had a poster of the of the pictures of Rusty Wallace's car flipping. And the different every half second or split second. So it's like a 20 picture a poster.
That's awesome.
Boom, 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 boom. Every time he flipped, that's like 15 times if I remember correctly. That epic. I mean, you can look it up. It's on probably on YouTube. I haven't looked it up myself, but it's probably available on YouTube. I mean, everything else is. Rusty Wallace. He had one of the most epic flip crashes in all of NASCAR history, and I was number 2 car back in 91, 92, thereabouts, early 90s, some along there, and so I mean that's what I remember, and obviously Dale Earnhardt Sr. and Sterling Marlin and but Bill Elliott rather. Chase is the current star, and all the big names of the 90s. That's when I watched NASCAR. I mean, I watched the Daytona 500 still, because again, it is the Daytona 500. That's the only race I watch, because again, I don't like how it's changed. The points system is crap. The way it's split up into 3 sections now. So 100 laps each, or whatever it is. Or I think it's divided into it depends on the number of laps for that race, but 3 stages. Why? Just let them race. I mean, don't stop them. Stage 1, stage 2. No. Just I like the olden days when you just flat out raced. And whoever got to the finish line first, you're the victor. You don't have these stages. You don't collect. I mean, sure, you had points back in the day too, but the point system actually made sense back then.
Right.
I can go on, but
I know nothing about this, so
no. I'm sorry. Yeah, I should be talking about a topic that you know something about.
Oh, it's all good.
Darn it!
I can tell you. I can tell you that I hate point systems that are arbitrary.
Yes.
I wants me to flow chart.
Point system arbitrary is horrible. Yeah. There's a topic. Yeah.
I wants me to flow chart explain what a sport was and what a sport isn't.
Okay.
And racing was one of those things that was a very. It was in an ambiguous territory on said flowchart.
Right.
So, for it to be a sport, it has to have an objective winner, and it can't be up to the subjective rulings of referees or judges.
Right. I see what you're saying.
So I don't know how the point system works, but if the point system is as simple as, hey, you get first, you get the most points.
Yeah, something like that.
You get the second most point. You come in third, you get the third most points. It could still be a sport, right?
Yeah. No. Right. No. Absolutely.
Whereas cheerleading, which was based off of a judge's opinion of how people did, that was not a sport. Just like gymnastics is not a sport. Well, don't get me wrong, gymnasts and people who do gymnastics are peak top-level athletes. Mm-hmm. What they do is not a sport, in my opinion.
No, I hear you. That makes perfect sense to me.
Because if you can have 2 people do the exact same routine, but one person smiles and is cute, and the other person doesn't smile and is ugly,
that's it. Yeah.
They would get less points for some reason.
Yeah, smiling should be included.
They're like, hey, unless smiling is part of the objective criteria of this sport.
Right. Now maybe it is.
That's kind of silly.
I've never. Now let's see. There's a topic. Because I've never understood how many scoring systems work. Like, for example, tennis. Oh my goodness. I mean, I watch tennis. I watch Wimbledon and whatnot.
Whoa.
You know tennis.
I played tennis for years.
Yeah. I've
tennis
never
is a very
understood.
simple scoring system.
Well, I've never understood it. See, there's love, it's 0-0, then it's 10. No, what is it? 5? No, 10?
I think it depends,
I forget what it is. It's like 10, 20, 10, and then 15. 40 or something. Or 15, that's right. There's 15, 30, 40. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense. I've read about it, but it still makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, you could simplify it in thinking of love is 0. So
yeah, and I've always
0, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
Win.
Right, you have to have a minimum of 2 points.
And you have a 2-point win.
A minimum of 2 points between or above to be the victor of that match.
Right.
Or that round or whatever they call it.
Yeah. So you play
match.
a game, and then those games, depending on what you're playing, they make up a set.
Yeah, set, that's
and
it.
then you win the right number of sets, and you win that match.
So
that's why they say game,
sets,
set, match.
Yeah, right. That's it. Okay.
So, I can see how it's confusing. Like, each game, like, why? What?
Yeah, I mean, I
15? How did you get to 15 so fast? You had not made 15 points. You know what I mean?
I watched the Wimbledon. I watched the majors. The Wimbledon, the U.S. Open. Occasionally the Australian, because it's Australia. Maybe not.
Right.
If it's happening, I'll usually watch the replay on that because again, I'm not gonna get up early in the morning to watch Australia live. But the point is, that, I do watch the majors, and our, whether it be the Williams sisters or the upcoming, Goff or the other names that are up and coming in the sport nowadays. The recent match, the U.S. Open. That young lady, she was very good. But I watch it, and I watch them hit the ball back and forth, and and the umpires, saying that's out or that's in. Like, okay, which line are you looking at?
Right.
And if you look at the tennis board, the tennis, what's it called? A tennis. Court. Thank you.
Court?
Yes, yeah. Margaret Court. Right. The lines. What does each line mean? This section means you're out, but that section is you're in or something.
Yes.
I'm confused by it all.
Yeah. So, my nose is like freaking out on me right now.
Oh, no worries.
I just don't want to sniffle into the microphone. And
Oh.
weird sound. So, I hate that unless the podcast you hear this.
Yeah,
so
I wish I had I have a mute. Boing! Yeah,
That would've been nice,
but I
though.
don't have a cough button.
Yeah.
Because I don't have an elaborate board where I have the cough button.
No, that's fine.
Because
I will
those are
just-
nice.
I would just sneak away from the mic, and if it looks like I'm leaning really far away from the mic for those who are watching,
Yeah, because we're
it's-
streaming live on YouTube.
Yeah.
'Cause, that's cool.
Yeah, I thought, why not? Let's make it more fun. Apparently, we have one person watching. Thank you,
Oh,
you
thank
one person,
you.
whoever you are. So the scoring system isn't that complicated. Mm-hmm. Like, it is because they use stupid numbers.
Yeah,
But
15, 30, 40.
If I remember correctly, it's a game that stems from people who are used to making up stupid numbers.
I
right?
think that's what it is, yeah.
People in that same area use the English system instead of the metric system initially. Mm-hmm. So, they like to be loose with their numbers. Hey, this is a foot. Why is it a foot? I don't know, because it's the length of someone's foot, right?
Right, yeah, right. No, exactly.
Why is this an inch? What is an inch?
It's,
It's 1/12 of a foot. What? Like, who
okay,
thought of that system?
My foot is this length. Excuse me. Your foot is that length.
Right.
Whose foot do we go off of?
Right.
The emperor's?
So, I'll explain to you the scoring system real quick. 15, so it goes love, which is 0.
Yeah,
15,
I'm looking at it right
which
here.
is 1.
Yeah.
30, which is 2. 40, which is 3.
Yeah.
And then the next point would win.
And then game point. Yeah.
Yes.
Which wins the game. But you have to be the 2
You have to be up by 2.
above. So you have. Then you get the advantage.
Yes.
Somebody gets advantage. Mm-hmm. And then it's. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then it goes, then if you're doing advantage, say.
Point, game, set, match. Yeah.
So it's a fun sport.
I'm just
And
looking at the Wikipedia here, and
the lines aren't really that confusing. You can think of the 2 side lines.
Right.
So basically, you have your initial court. You've got the 2 small squares in the front, the one big square in the back. Right. That's your court.
That's the court.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then if you're playing with doubles, they add those 2 sidelines to make it a little bit wider.
Oh, but I've seen this even when there are the singles. I'm pretty sure, or maybe because I'm picturing the court when it's singles. Mm-hmm. That you have the 2 long lines, the 2 long areas on the side,
Right.
and then you have the 2 squares or rectangles, whatever they are, in the front there nearest the net, and then in the back where the player is standing most of the time is one big long rectangle.
Right.
I don't know. It's
So
confusing
let
to
me
me.
show you a cool picture that makes it.
Yeah, the court. Here we go. Well, it doesn't look like that. Oh, yeah, here we go. How to keep score. I see a video here on Watch Mojo about how to keep score in tennis. That's the court that I'm familiar with.
Okay.
Yeah.
The
But,
2 boxes in the front, 1 box in the
2
back.
box,
Are there 2
large
rings on the
box,
side?
and then the 2 long rectangles on either side that extend the length of the court.
Yes, so
Yeah.
those long rectangles should only come and play when you're playing doubles.
Oh, okay, but they're there just because they're there.
Right.
Yeah.
So
okay.
so you can in normal court you can play singles or doubles on it.
So
in a singles match, it
So
goes
they don't
just
change
that-
out the court for
Right,
singles. Okay.
Right. It's just the inner line. So
Okay.
no, it's a fun sport. I mean,
I'm sure it is.
it's
super
super challenging. It's
Oh
one
yeah,
of the
it
few
looks. I mean,
sports that I consider to be.
I remember playing on my
fun sport.
Wii. Wii Sports, it has, and I was pretty good at it on Wii Sports, but
Nice.
again, just playing against a computer, that's nothing. And now again, I would play against a computer on occasion, and my even though I would win the game, my ranking would go down. It's like, what the frick, computer? What the frick?
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about. That's weird.
Yeah. I mean, I could win by a lot of points, and it would still take my ranking down, 10 points or 20 points. Like, okay, I just defeated the frickin' computer. You're telling me I lost points? Really? My ranking goes down?
Huh.
Really? Really? Thank you, Wii. Thank you, Nintendo. You really screwed up. Yeah, but that's another topic.
That's funny.
Hey, that's all. That's what we do here. We ramble.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of rambling, I was going to ask you. So you were here for my super random and not super well put together podcast a minute ago. What were your thoughts?
Regarding
any of the topics strike you as interesting? Like, hey, like the
Any
question,
other
who do you
topics?
think you are? Anything I brought
well,
up?
I think I want to stand away from politics right now. That can get awfully boring.
Sure, we can avoid the politics question. That's fine.
Oh, I can go on for hours on politics.
No, let's avoid the
I love politics.
Did I talk about politics?
Pardon?
Did I talk about politics during my podcast? I thought I avoided politics.
No, not your earlier podcast. No, you did not. No. You talked about good news, which is plenty you don't hear about at all. So
Yeah, I tried to keep it good.
Yeah, good news is
and,
good news.
Positive stuff.
yeah, and there's always plenty of good news out there. It's hard to find sometimes.
That's why I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, and the old cliche: if it bleeds, it leads. That's what sells papers. So
It's true.
Good news doesn't really. I mean, there have been some companies that have tried selling papers of good news. Putting only for like a week, putting only good news on the cover of the paper. And they watched the readership plummet because again, people are going to buy bad news because again, human nature to want to see the negative, even though we talk like we want to see the positive.
Right.
We go around saying, "Well, where's the good news?" Well, we gave it to you. You didn't buy it, but I want to see the good news.
Right.
Well, then buy it. Oh, but I need to know the real news. Oh, I don't know.
Right.
We humans are strange creatures.
One story. I made so I'm doing this thing called Inktober.
Inktober, I'm not familiar.
So
It has nothing to do with tattoos, right?
no, nothing to do with tattoos.
Because when I hear the word ink, that's what I'm thinking of. Because you see all these places. Okay, that's what people call it, is ink.
Right.
Inking up. Yeah.
Right. No. So I don't know who started it or when it started, but basically, some Instagram people thought, hey, we should just do. I think it probably started with actual ink drawings. But there's
ink, as in pen.
Yeah.
Pen ink. Yeah. Uh-huh.
But there's a thing every October they put out a prompt, like several people put out prompts, and you follow those prompts and you do like one drawing a day, for the month of October. So today's prompt on the prompt that I had,
Okay.
I think I got it from the people who made Lina app, the drawing app.
I'm not familiar.
It's a cool drawing app.
There's a lot of apps out there.
Yeah, I didn't actually buy the app because
okay.
it was $5 and I had like 3 other drawing apps, and so I figured I've got enough drawing apps. I pay for the Adobe one. I don't need to. I don't need to buy another one.
No. True.
It's useful. But this one was mindless. Was the prompt. So yesterday's was a ring. So I drew like a ring. Nothing special.
A ring. Mm-hmm.
But here I'll show you this one's for this month. So mindless.
Head looks like heads open.
Yeah.
Like open mind.
Well, because they're mindless. Get it?
Mindless.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little stuffed up. So mindless, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny.
Now I get it. Okay.
There's 2 groups of mindless people. Some wearing blue, some wearing red.
I know it's 2 different colors. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's 2 girls with their brains about to fall out as they're staring at phones. I got a color in the phones. I realized I messed up that bit of the drawing, but I'll go back and fix it. But it's something
better than I could ever draw. I'm not a drawer at all. I mean, I that's a whole other topic. But I drew back in the day. I drew spaceships and submarines, kind of, and I did for a while try drawing a video game. It was based on Super Mario Bros. 2. If you remember back in the day, Super Mario Bros. 2 was different than the original Super Mario Brothers, and it had this weird, the American version of Super Mario Bros. 2, because there is a Japanese version which held more closely to the original Super Mario Brothers. But
the one with the
with cherries and
okay,
the fry guy. not Fry Guy. Oh, Fry Guy was one of the bosses, but the different characters. Yeah, it didn't have turtles. It didn't have Koopa Troopas and such. It had Mario. Had the four of them: Mario, Luigi, Princess, and Toad, going after Wart. He was the boss of the Super Mario Bros. 2, and I actually defeated him several times. But
Nice.
Yeah, so I was successful in that game. But anyways, so back when I was in school, this back in my elementary days, I would occasionally take to drawing a world similar to the one I saw in Super Mario Bros. 2 with cherries and side-scrolling levels where you could jump around and whatnot. And I don't know what happened to those drawings. I think they're long gone. They're stuck in my head now. That's all I have. I probably couldn't draw them today to save my life, but that's about my closest thing. I drew a lot of submarine shapes and rockets. That's kind of what I knew how to draw. I was never an expert drawer. I mean, I couldn't do shading and three-dimensional like some of the kids can.
That's a skill that takes practice. I mean,
takes practice.
Some people are more naturally skilled at it than others.
If I had put it into practice, maybe I could be a bigger artist than a podcaster. Maybe I could be a podcaster and an artist. I don't know. But I just never got... I mean...
Hey, never too late to start.
Yay, never too late.
Anyways, going back to the drawing I was talking about. Uh-huh. So there's a funny thing going around where... The day and age we live in, very much into identity politics, and everyone's very much into my side's right, your side is wrong.
Yes.
And
unfortunately,
the real danger is that both sides here in America are consuming media. We're consuming our views from our phones.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people live in a what's that word? Not a fishbowl. An echo chamber is what they call it. Yeah.
Yes. Echo chamber. Yes, I'm familiar with the term.
So an echo chamber, yeah. So what do you listen to? I listen to Fox, and I listen to everyone who agrees with Fox and people who tend to lean right.
Indeed.
And I don't listen to CNN because CNN's fake news.
Yeah,
right? And then you have people who are on the flip side who are like, CNN
MSNBC, not even in the middle.
CNN and MSNBC are the only people we trust, and Fox News is totally wrong always fake news.
Or obvious, or the reverse, yeah.
Right, so it's either or. And the real scary thing is that we live in a world where both sides are missing huge swaths of the truth. And I think caving into just some mindlessness, like, people on both sides are prone to fall into the idea of being an NPC without even noticing it, That's why the drawing had people without their brains in it.
Non-playable character. Yeah.
And the two girls that were looking at the phones, their brains were swelling and about to fall out of their heads.
About to fall, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because we do live in that kind of world where accepting the binary is part of the problem. A comedian I follow says... if a random black guy in a trench coat offers you 2 pills and says red or blue,
Matrix. Mm-hmm.
What you say is, I don't take pills from random black men in trench coats.
Yeah, really. Don't be like Neo. Yeah, right, don't be like and Mr. Anderson. Yeah,
right. Neo, you could argue Neo made the wrong choice by choosing either one.
Yeah.
Because he to accept either pill is to assume that the person offering you the pills is actually offering you a good pill.
You're assuming. Yeah.
Right. And in the world we live in, both Fox, both the Republican Party, both the Democratic Party, and either one, or Fox and CNN or MSNBC, all of them have a vested interest in keeping people in a state of fear.
This is true.
And in a state of
denial of the facts.
The facts. And so the real problem is we're living in a binary system where if you accept the binary, you've already failed.
Well, yeah, right. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you on that one. Yeah.
Obviously, I tend to lean more to the right. I think there's a little bit more close to truthness in that, but that's because we don't have a Christian nationalist party that I could say I'm a part of in America. So
start it up. You can be the founder.
No, thank you. I do not wish to start a political party. I don't want to run a political party. I think in a perfect world, government would stay out of my way. And
yes, exactly.
The only time I'd have to deal with governmental stuff was when the town got together and said, "Hey, you know what? We need a new road over there. We need a bridge over here. Hey guys, can we all pitch in some money and build this road, build this bridge?" Or, "Hey, we have a random problem that we're all facing, or half of us at least are facing. How can we come together to solve this?" You know what I mean? For the most part, I don't want to deal with the government. I don't want the government to deal with me.
No, exactly.
And
exactly.
I think if America ran the way the founders intended to, we would see a lot less government, and we wouldn't really care who our political officials are nearly as much. Like, we really shouldn't be that much of a drive to have your guy in office. If the executives are doing their jobs right, I think, and the legislators were doing their jobs right, we'd be like, all right, fine, we can replace them every 2 years, and who cares? Your job is to make laws, but we don't need you to make new laws. Just stop making stupid laws, and you get to have this job for the next 2 years. Or, hey, protect the country and enforce the laws on the books. That's the only thing you have to do. That's it. So unless somebody attacks us,
right,
don't do anything in the military. Unless
no, exactly.
Unless somebody is saying, "Hey, we're going to shoot missiles at America. I don't want to hear about military stuff," And I mean, to take it to the extreme, I don't think we should be policing anyone else outside of America because it's
agreed.
It's not our responsibility. Like, oh, somebody in the Middle East did something against someone else in the Middle East. Do we own anything in the Middle East? Do we live there? No? Are there Americans there?
No, you're right.
Back on out. People say, but you got to protect Israel. I'm like, do you?
Do we? Yeah, exactly. They can protect themselves. We've given them over the years, I don't know what the number is, but some massive billions and billions worth of
what that is,
gear.
Right?
What number? Or do you?
I don't know what the number is. But you know why that is?
Why that is.
So if you look at the sheer number of senators that have dual citizenship
right there.
Israel, I think that's your problem.
That's part of it. That's part of it.
And it's on both sides of the aisle, right?
Oh, no, absolutely. Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. It does not matter about party. It is, we don't have a two-party system. We have a one-party system. It's the money party. It's the money party. Money and power.
Money and power. And the problem for me is that I think we don't separate those two, and we don't think through, wait, how can somebody serve two masters? How can you be loyal to protecting America's interests?
You can't.
If you also have citizenship somewhere else. I'm like, hey, if you're going to be leading America in any capacity, you really probably should have to have only an American citizenship, if you ask me. But, I don't get to make the rules. We just get to live in the country, and,
Yeah, and actually, there's, they're talking about Israel, talking about how they operate and such, and why America should not be such friends with them. And we can go back to the USS Liberty incident. Probably don't want to talk about that right now. I don't know. But, the 1967 USS Liberty incident that happened during the Six-Day War. When Israel, again, I wasn't there, obviously, but according to the stories I've read and the, facts according to various sites, online, such as Real Clear History and other sites, Israel, purposely attacked our ship and killed many of our men.
Really?
Where's the number? Here we go. Well, this is from the Haaretz. Haaretz.com. It was how many people? How many of our men were killed? 34 American sailors, were killed in the Israeli attack, and many others were wounded. And this was, during the Six-Day War, the USS Liberty bombed by an Israeli fighter jet and torpedo boats on June 8th, 1967, in the Eastern Mediterranean, and has been overlooked ever since. Israel supposedly apologized, and they paid compensation, but that does not give them, carte blanche to be our friends.
Right.
Just now. I mean, just because they apologized, just because they paid money. Paying money, if you ask me, that means that they obviously owned up to it. They are guilty of being the instigators. I mean, hell, if killing 34 Americans, that's an act of war. Last I checked.
Yeah.
So why we let it go? I mean, obviously we know why we let it go because they're supposed to be our friends. But it just there's so many questions. And again, that's just one event. There have been other events over the years that make it questionable to call Israel our only friend in the in that Arab part of the world. Are there good Israelis? Absolutely, there are good Arabs too.
Yeah.
And there are bad Israelis, bad Arabs. I mean, I'm not condemning or condoning, an entire classification of people. I'm just saying,
same.
The government of it. More what I'm saying is the government itself. The government, and it's always the government, not the people. I'm speaking mostly, when I say a country, I'm talking about the government of that country, because governments are inherently bad. Governments, they devolve. Now they may start, our country. We started off as a wonderful government, but unfortunately, bad people get involved. Bad people with, they have great ideas, but they devolve into overwhelming, bad ideas over time. I mean, and so our government even, we may love our country. I do love my country. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I love my country, but I hate my government. And that's an okay thing. It's okay to hate your government. It's okay to love your country, hate your government, because you should never be willing to settle for a government that you have. You should be ready to say, you know what, things can be better. Our government can be better. We can improve.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I think I don't know that I would say governments are inherently evil.
Okay,
but I would say people are naturally evil.
Yes,
and governments are made up of people.
Yeah, no,
and so they are. What's the idea? Evil corrupts, right?
Yeah,
or power corrupts.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts, absolutely. As the phrase, that's the quote by, was it Lord Byron?
Might have been.
Somebody of the olden days. Yeah,
but that's one of those things where you're right. You really shouldn't trust. We should have a healthy distrust of whatever government we have.
Oh, absolutely. Distrust is required to keep government healthy.
Yeah, like which government was it? I was talking about something the other day with someone. I was trying to point out to a friend that we really shouldn't trust our government, and anytime somebody's trying to get us to go to a war, we should really think twice about it, because
absolutely,
it's not like our government wouldn't do a false flag, and they were like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Have you never heard of any of the false flags we've pulled on our own people?" The easy one to point out is the Gulf of Tonkin incident.
Oh yes,
where
Gulf of Tonkin. Oh,
we blew up one of our own ships.
Vietnam,
right?
Yeah, Vietnam War,
and so
Gulf of Tonkin. That was here we go. Let me pull it up.
Details on it. Cool.
Just so we have the year at least. That was, what year was that?
1964.
64. So that was before Liberty. Yeah,
right.
That was before Liberty.
So I think it helps get us into Vietnam, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it did. Actually, it did, because that was used as a excuse to get us into. Yeah, it is well noted now. Many years later, that it was a false flag event,
right?
And that our government did lie to us outright about it.
Right.
Gulf of Tonkin incident was it is the one that our government has been willing to own up to.
Well, see, that's the funny thing, right? So I know, like on 9/11, I posted something. I think what did I post? I posted a meme that this guy made by Jim Bob. He's an artist. He makes funny cartoons. He posted. A picture of this guy falling out of the. It's not funny. Like
no.
The cartoon was funny. The event was very sad.
I understand. Yeah,
but the cartoon was funny because it had this guy falling out of one of the buildings.
Oh yes,
and he has this little thought bubble over his head.
Yes,
and it says some people did something.
Yeah. Regarding to what Ilhan Omar,
right,
one of our current representatives, said. Yes.
Right, and so it triggered several people.
It did.
If it triggered you, I'm very sorry. Don't be triggered. Also,
I'm not triggered.
Try and not get triggered. Life will be much better.
Whoops, sorry. I shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. The funny thing is, so people were like, "Oh, you don't think like 9/11 happened the way it said? Like you think it was an inside job? You think Bush did it?" I'm like, I don't think Bush did it. What I've realized is I don't think it's safe to say we know the full story.
I would fully agree with that.
There's enough stuff around it to make you go, wait a minute. Why is this? Like, there's a reporter, I think, on the BBC explaining Tower 7 fell.
WTC 7.
Yeah. So while she's explaining it, Tower's right behind her. So she's reading a cue card that somebody wrote for her that says, "Oh yeah, Tower 7 already fell because of blah 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 blah."
And that was before it had.
But it's before it fell.
And like so
you can see it.
So before,
you can see it in the background though as she's talking. And so everyone's like, "Wait a minute." what? And I'm like, that's one of those things where you're like, this is the kind of thing, a podcaster I follow had a great review of it. His name's Owen Benjamin. I bring him up often because I think he's a funny comedian, but I also think he's really smart.
Okay.
You got to look him up sometime.
Who is it?
Owen Benjamin.
Owen Benjamin. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he had this talk where he was like, hey, look, he used to be on the show Punk'd. And he's like, this is like everything about this looks just like what a set would have looked like on Punk'd. Sure, the event itself did happen.
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, the event happened.
Enough of it around it is staged, and there's enough production into it to make you go, something about this isn't what they're trying to sell you. Like, within minutes, and maybe not minutes, but within like hours, they're like, oh yeah, there's only one terrorist organization that could have done this. It was for sure Osama bin Laden.
Yeah,
and it's like
it was like automatically before.
Like,
and most of us had never even heard of the name Osama bin Laden.
Right.
I mean, it was like, maybe I remember Clinton had mentioned him like once or twice during his term, but again, it was not a major factor. It was not a major name in American consciousness, much less the global consciousness. On that date, on 9/11.
Right, and I think that they could tell. This person for sure did it.
Oh yeah, automatically.
Like
he's
the
guilty.
same day. Like no law enforcement agency is able to make decisions that fast.
That's massive an event. 9/11. I mean, multiple buildings taken down. 4 airplanes minimum involved supposedly. Something like that would take a week, months, if not more, to really digest and to really figure out. I mean, the FBI would have to. Would wait on declaring a suspect for that event typically. But because this was that type of event, a false flag event, we know who did it right away.
Right.
Automatically, it's person A.
Right.
I mean, that made no sense to me. On day one, you knew who it was. No, that's not how investigations, that's the word I'm looking for, investigations work. Investigations are slow and tedious because you want to gather the evidence, you want to research, you want to be very careful about what you say, about how you say it, because you don't want to, finger the wrong person at the wrong time and make them, suspect that they're a suspect.
Right, for sure. And I mean, there's countless other things that are still just like weird. Like, for example, the most secure building in the world, the Pentagon.
Oh, yeah.
They just let a plane fly into it. Like,
that wasn't a plane, but that was a missile. But yeah.
But you know what I mean?
And there's only one video, and it's just not even video. It's just snippets of a video. Yet there are other cameras all around, but they're all. Oh, what happened to those other videos? Oh, the cameras weren't working that day, or some
just like Jeffrey Epstein
response.
Right?
and this one, this non-video has just like 4 snaps. The one I'm referring to is obviously the one we've all seen from the gas station. Pointing at the Pentagon there with the. You don't see an actual plane crashing into the Pentagon. You never see the plane. You never see it. If it's truly the plane, why did the media not show us the plane hitting the Pentagon?
Right.
We want to be sensitive to the families. Oh crap.
Right.
No, I don't want to be sensitive to anybody. This is a national event. This is a world event. Bleep the families. I don't have maybe I'm wrong to say that. I have not been directly affected by it. I didn't lose anyone that day, at that event. Maybe I'm wrong to say that. But I just feel, we see this stuff in the movies all the time, blood and guts all the time. I mean, there are horror movies, for heaven's sakes, that are more horrific than any crime scene we've seen.
Well, that's one of the crazy things to think about beyond that. Like,
frustrating.
That's another thing to think about in the world we live in. How much horror do we desensitize ourselves to?
That's
or
the
trauma do we not just desensitize ourselves? How much trauma do we expose ourselves to?
No, I see what you're saying.
All the time without thinking about it. Like
that's the thing, is that we have no problem, whether it be Freddy Krueger or the latest Scream film or Gallows. I never saw the films, but I've heard that was a good film.
Which one?
Gallows, by the.
I heard I didn't see it though.
By the kids here in Fresno.
For sure.
Focus.
Yeah, I've given up on horror movies.
Yeah, I'm not a horror movie person myself. But I mean, bravo to those, Wes Craven and whatnot, Rodriguez or whomever that creates these horror films. What I'm getting at is, to your point, we are desensitized. We have no problem going to the theater to see these horrific films, blood and guts everywhere. I've heard that the new Rambo film has a ton of blood and guts.
Right.
Every Mexican getting his head chopped off or some such, and blood everywhere. Okay, so that's okay. We can go see the movies with blood and guts flying all over the place. But if it's real life, we don't want to show that. The local news, the national news, will stop the video just before the person is injured or just before the person is killed. Or the plane, hell, you don't even see the people. It's the plane. They'll stop the video at that last frame just before it crashes into the earth. I'm like, we're not seeing anyone. We're not seeing any body parts. We're not seeing any blood and guts going spewing in the next frames. And yet, we just want to be sensitive to the families. We're not seeing anything. It's just a plane crashing into the earth.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, media. Be honest with us. Show us the video. We can handle it. We go to horror movies.
Well,
we can handle horror movies because that's fake.
Well, the real funny thing is, you
gosh.
assume the media has any interest in being honest with us.
That was my first mistake. Is media honesty,
and
they're like opposite ends of the they're like polar opposites. They don't go together.
It's just, for as long as the American media has existed, as long as media, I think, has existed, there's been a question of, does the person portraying this information have a real interest in being honest? Which I think is a healthy and useful way to look at all the media we read. But it's especially true in today's day and age when it comes to news media.
Yes.
Right? Now more than ever, there's a vested interest in controlling the narrative.
Right.
And the media they'll even tell you things like, you ever, it's a constant thing with a lot of the race hoaxes that have been happening. Like, this one was false, but it gets to a deeper truth. The narrative was right. America is a racist country. And but Jesse Smollett wasn't actually attacked by two random white guys in the middle of...
Yeah, the news. The news. That always got me, the news.
Yes.
I knew right then when they talked about the news, I knew he was lying right then. Well, because the news gave it away.
The news gave it away?
Yeah, in my opinion, the news gave it away.
You know what?
A black man is not going to walk around town with a noose hanging around his. Because he returned to his.
Right.
He returned to his apartment.
The thing that got me about it was the where and the when.
Yeah.
Was it? So it's the middle of downtown
Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Like
during
3 in the morning.
3 in the morning, in the middle of
he went to 7-Eleven to get a hot dog or something.
No, he went to Subway to get a Subway sandwich.
Subway. Subway.
In the middle of a winter polar vortex, like one of the coldest days of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
Where, to my knowledge, Chicago isn't a very white town.
No,
right?
It's not. Last I checked, I've not been there myself.
So,
as in the airport,
the whole idea that there would be two white guys there would say this is MAGA country.
Yeah.
In the middle of downtown Chicago,
they're wearing
MAGA hats. In the middle of a storm.
No.
It's so absurd.
That was
no.
It was absurd.
Just no.
Yeah, obviously, all of it was absurd. Completely bizarre.
Right.
He was. We know now he was doing it because he wanted to get higher pay for Empire,
Fox,
which he completely lost
or
out on. And they said, "You're gone."
But the
move.
The real funny thing that gets me about all of that is no one the corrections on that were never nearly as loud as the America's racist.
Of course not.
And
they never are.
To this day, he's still trying to claim that he's
still
innocent.
trying to claim it's a real story.
There was some girl who got who was supposedly victim of a hate crime. Supposedly some kids cut off one of her dreadlocks. Turns out it didn't actually happen.
No, she admitted to it. Yeah,
right.
A week later. Or
right.
Yeah.
But the real funny thing is, Jesse's mad that people are comparing him to her, and I'm like, Jesse, you did the same exact thing.
Yeah, same.
Only much bigger, and you paid people to lie.
Yeah. The only difference, the biggest difference, this is Jesse. He's a big name star.
Right.
This girl is the nobody. She wanted to copy Jesse. Apparently, she's. I don't know. I don't know that. I can't speak. Exactly.
Who knows why she did it? She could have.
She made up the story. Same thing that Jesse did. The comparisons are apt.
And the difference is, I actually have some grace for, she was a high school student.
No,
I've worked with teenagers. Teenagers make up stories for all kinds of reasons.
And she, and again, like Jussie's, it does sound plausible.
Right. And
it does sound possible. It does sound like it could happen. She didn't make. Well, I mean, what I'm saying is that we want to believe these things are happening because we want to believe that people are always telling the truth.
That's fair.
We don't want to believe that people lie to us. We want to believe that people are always honest. The truth of the matter, obviously, the real truth is that people lie more than they're honest. I mean, I try to be as honest as I can all the time, but I'm guilty of lying on occasion. I'm guilty. I'm not going to deny it.
I don't know if people lie more than they're honest, though.
You think you think it's the reverse? You think they're more honest than
I honestly don't know. I think it obviously depends on the person, but maybe it's because I'm an optimist. I want to have a hopeful view that
optimism
people
is good.
tend to tell more truth than they do
Optimism
lies.
will set you free. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I'm really I describe myself as a realist who's
absolutely realist.
whose worldview forces me to be an optimist. Because I believe Jesus wins at the end. So if I think there's a God who's going to make everything right at the end, I can't walk around hopeless.
I get you. It makes perfect sense to me.
But I think at the end of the day, I think people are tend to be more real. People tend to be more honest. But then again, I also know a lot of people just can't even be honest with themselves. So maybe you're right. Maybe people do lie. More often than they.
Well, what I've always come back to is earlier we were talking about the whole dynamic of the binary.
Right.
I've always felt that the world operates on binary. Whether it be computers or anything else. I mean, there are two. Now it may sound crazy a little bit, but I believe there's two people. I mean, there's a second of me. There's the one you see and the one you don't see, and by that I mean the yin and yang. The unseen person, the unseen copy of that person, if you will.
Okay.
Again, and I could get into another topic I love, which is
it sounds like a fun metaphysical concept.
Parallel dimensions, alternate dimensions, what have you. Maybe it goes into there. We could, physics. No, I don't know if that's physics. Like metaphysics, I guess that's more or less.
Right.
What I'm getting at is the binary and how it ties in. There's good and bad. I mean, and there has to be a default setting. And which setting is default? Is good default or is bad default? So I've always leaned towards believing that, unfortunately, evil or bad is the default setting, and we have to flip the switch to get to good or positive.
Funny story about that. As you're explaining that bit of your worldview,
sure,
it's a lot more Christian than you realize.
I've no doubt that it is, because again, religion, as much as I'm not a big fan of religion,
right,
I know that it has a lot of characteristics in reality.
Yeah,
religion ties into reality, in many ways. I mean, leaving out the characters in religion, but just the overall themes of religion. Yes, they are. They all. I mean, all religions, worldwide, they all tie in together at some point. I mean, because they all believe similar things. I mean, I don't know. Okay, maybe not all of them.
It's not true at all.
Okay, not all of them. Not all of them. Fine, but many of them.
But many.
Yeah, I would say many of them have similar. I mean, Judaism and Christianity have similar structures in terms of good and bad. I'm talking. Leave out the characters.
No.
Just the overall themes have a lot in common, I think.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So as far as the big world religions, considering that
the major names,
considering the majority of the world probably falls into one of the Abrahamic religions, or or Buddhism. All the Abrahamic religions do follow a lot of the same similar themes. I'll give you that. But what you're saying specifically about good and evil, it's funny because humans. I would agree with you. Humans do have a typical default setting, in that. Based on my worldview,
yes,
we all follow Adam. Adam was the first man. He sinned. We all follow that same lineage. We're all born in that same. Even some translations,
image or light.
We're made in his image or his likeness. A lot of translations say, "Oh, Adam bore a son in his likeness," right? So we were all born with that same kind of default, broken, rebellious, sinful nature. Yes. So I think that's true. But to your point about there being two, I think you've missed something about the yin and the yang.
Sure.
It's still one. So,
Okay.
so
How
yes,
so?
there's the light and the dark,
Yes.
but it's one thing. It's still one coin.
One coin, so two sides of the same coin.
It's two sides of the same coin. It's
Yeah, if you want to go there, okay.
it's two halves of one whole. It's two parts of one.
Right. No,
being.
yeah, exactly. You can't have yin without yang and vice versa because, again, it does that. I love this topic because it does all tie together. Yes, it is true. It is one. It is two that are of one. That is true. Like that's where we can go off on the on our country's motto out of one many. What e pluribus unum. Our Latin motto was replaced by "In God We Trust" in '54, but it's still on currency. No, it's not on currency. Actually, no, it's not on currency. Well, it's on the $1 bill. It's on that eye, the all-seeing eye there. But anyways, the old "E pluribus unum" out of one many. I believe that's how it translates. Or out of many one. I got that reversed. Yeah, out of "E pluribus unum," out of many one. And so that comes back to the one.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you get two from one, and you could say there's again that comes out to the many then. So I mean, it's one of those head turners. It's one of those things that makes your head spin because it's hard to grasp. It's hard to really fully. It's hard for our human minds to fully grasp this idea of two. But it's really one. But okay, yeah. Go ahead.
I think I understand how it could be difficult to grasp, but I think when you look at it as we're one being, we're human beings, we're one person, and sure, you could say maybe we have a good side and a bad side.
Sure.
I would tend to say it's not that there's two separate sides to us, but there's the potential for both.
Yes.
Everyone has the potential for good. Everyone has the potential for bad.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
And so I think it's too easy to simplify it and say, oh, well, because if you can do some damage to yourself and to your psyche when you start walking around thinking there's two of me. And I don't think people intentionally do this, but having walked with people through some pretty crazy times in life where they're like, oh, I'm, how do I say this? You can fall into places where the more you see yourself as fractured, at some point you can live in such a way where you think, oh, well, I'm not the right me today. I'm just this broken version of me.
Yeah, are you getting at multiple personalities kind of thing?
I mean, some people take it that far.
Okay.
Like I've seen people do that.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's even as simple as people giving themselves the excuse to operate as less than they are. Right?
My person B is doing this deed, not me personally, kind of thing. Yeah,
I mean, I've had times where I've used that excuse to a degree where it's like, oh,
okay,
I'm sorry.
I wasn't feeling myself that day.
Right, like, like earlier I was saying in my podcast, one of the things that I mentioned was I used to define myself as a sinner saved by God's grace. The problem with that definition is that the first definition of me was a sinner. So anytime I screwed up, anytime I sinned, anytime I did something wrong, I was like, well, I'm just a sinner, saved by God's grace, but I'm just a sinner. So
now, is that the default setting?
I think sinner is actually the default setting for human beings.
Negative, evil.
Right. I think by definition, human beings are set on that default.
Okay. Now,
I don't think that
apply to everyone equally.
Well,
that's the thing. Is that all humans equally built that way? Or
I think every human being starts. How do I say this?
Okay.
Because that does get tricky. Like, do I look at
a tricky question.
Do I look at my kids who are the sweetest things in the world and go, oh man, these beings are just default sinners. They're the worst. And I'm like, no, my kids are great. They're sweet and kind and good.
Yes.
Well, at least the boy is. I don't know. The girl hasn't said anything yet, so who knows what she's thinking.
Still young. She's still young. She still has room to grow.
But you're right. So there is a gray area in this. But I think as a default, human beings are
fair enough.
As a default, human beings are from that same vein broken in line with Adam.
Okay.
And so I think by nature they are prone to rebel or prone to sinfulness or prone to brokenness in certain ways that I think can be fixed or redeemed, for lack of a better term,
Sure.
By Jesus.
Gotcha.
I think people would disagree with the religious lingo of that, but I think people are capable of more. But I think if you want to talk about people I think if you look at the Bible, technically people who've encountered Jesus, who are who are walking with God. I think it's in 1 Corinthians. It says, anyone who is in Christ is a new creation. The old is gone, the new has come. I think for them, Jesus calls himself the new Adam. So their new Adam, their new default should be Jesus.
Oh,
So-
yeah, right, okay.
So that's why for me, like, the idea that I used to call myself a sinner saved by grace, I don't get to do that if my default isn't Adam, but my default is now Jesus, right? Then if I'm in him and he's not a sinner,
yes.
I don't get to claim, oh, well, I just did that because I'm just a sinner. It's like, well, no, I did that because I decided to set down what I've been called to and what I've been given the power to not do.
Right.
And so I think, the way I look at the world, if I see somebody who I know for a fact is walking with God, I'm like, well, they sinned, there's grace, but I can actually call them and expect them to be better, right? My wife, if she catches me doing something wrong, she can look at me and go, hey, not only have you said you're going to do better because you said you're following Christ, I believe you actually have a responsibility to do better because of the way we see the world and the way that, I know that you walk with the God of the universe, right? But if I'm talking to somebody who's like, yeah, I don't walk with that God, I don't believe in that God, and I'm like, okay, well, hey, I think you're capable of better, but I'm not going to be mad if you don't operate in better because I don't think you, accepted the call to be better, but I also don't know that I know you have the ability to. I don't know if you really have the ability to on your own.
No, I hear you.
And so yes, I look at the world we live in, I look at the media, I look at the people who are controlling these things. I'm like, a lot of them don't walk with God, so I'm not surprised if, hey, this person in media decided to lie to me. Well, okay, so a human being whose default setting is to sin did something sinful. Why am I surprised by that?
No, accurate. Fair enough. That's deep.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty deep. That's going to take some thinking. That's what we're here for, is to help you think. No, I don't know. We're not helping you. I don't know if we can help anybody think, but...
we can at least challenge you to think or give you
challenge. No, that's the word. That's what we're looking for. Yes, we encourage it. We encourage thought.
Yeah.
Encourage the ability to question what is happening.
Yeah. So I think as far as a worldview, I think human beings' default is probably darkness, right?
Mm-hmm. Now, would that be connected to the Satan, the devil, the whole thing, or do you think it's not related, or do you think there's maybe part of it? I mean, what are your considerations in that arena?
I think there's a connection.
Okay. I mean the whole Satan falling from heaven thing, and he's battling back.
Okay, so the way
God versus Satan.
I think the way I've come to understand that weird connection is that a lot of things just go back to Genesis. God gave man dominion over the earth,
right?
And He made him, and God made human beings in His likeness and His image,
right? I mean,
so the first world problem was that mankind forgot what they were. Mm-hmm. Because the temptation to eat the fruit wasn't just the knowledge of the fruit.
No,
right? A lot of people think it was the knowledge of the apple.
Right.
The real problem was the snake convinced Eve that she could be like God if she bit into this fruit, whatever it was.
Who was the snake?
Satan.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So
right.
Satan was the snake, right?
Yeah. That was him personified.
So, personified. But the thing is, she took this fruit to be like God when she was already made in the image and likeness of God. So she forgot who she was and believed a lie.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the reasons why Satan is called the father of lies, right? And I think part of the thing is human beings, when we believe lies about ourselves, right? That's going back to the idea of who do you think you are. When we believe lies about ourselves, we settle for less than what we're actually capable of. Right?
That's fair enough.
So when we and that's applicable to everyone, regardless if they're Christian or not. Like if you don't understand yourself properly, you can't live properly in the world, right? If you think oh man, there's a horrible story of some poor girl whose mom convinced her she was sick from birth and was like unable to. They made a huge Netflix series about it that was really dark.
And
right?
there's a recent story similar to that of a boy who was his mother put him through surgery.
Right.
And because she, wanted to get the money from, claiming that he was ill when he wasn't. So
Right.
She even put him through surgeries, unnecessary surgeries, in her demented mind. But again, that's a whole other topic.
But the whole thing is that, like, that poor girl, like, she lived a number of years capable of walking, but because she believed a lie,
yes.
she took pills that kept her from walking.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right. But we do stuff like that to ourselves all the time. Like, how many people do you know settle for, like, for example, one thing that I probably have settled far too much for in recent history is being overweight. Right? I go, my family's all large. We're just large people. No matter what I do, we're just going to be large. Well, that's not entirely true. I could change my diet, right? I could.
I mean, that's the thing that is doable. It has to be done in the mind as well as physically.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I could give up Taco Bell, and I could give up, you know.
But yeah, I mean,
I'm probably not going to give up Taco Bell.
If your doctor tells you must change your diet, you must change your ways, or you will be dead in a week, would you be willing to change your ways?
Right.
Would you be willing to do what the doctor suggests you do?
Well, the crazy thing about that is, sure, most doctors won't tell you you're going to be dead in a week because you're probably not going to be dead in a week.
No,
but most of us in America, our doctors would say, hey, if you don't change your ways, instead of living to,
whatever,
90, you're probably going to live to about 65, 70.
Yeah, and you could live to 85, 90 if you change your ways.
So, tie that back in, I think human beings believe a lie, and when we believe the lies about ourselves, we don't live right in this world. We don't live in such a way that we could thrive or be the best us or be the best for our neighbors and for the world around us,
Right.
So I think going back to the question about Satan, I think the initial thing is that we, humankind, believed a lie, and in doing so, we gave our dominion and our authority to rule over the world to Satan.
Yes.
Because we chose to follow a master other than God.
Right.
And whether you believe in God or not, you could see how that works. Basically, hey, you have the power to rule over the world, but then you believed a lie, and so instead of living rightly in the world, you gave your ability over to lies and falseness and wrongness, and in doing so, doomed everyone else to follow lies and falseness and wrongness.
Right.
Because that's where the head of the family. That's where the human being started from.
Yes.
True. And so I think. I don't think it's fair for anyone to say, "Oh, the devil made me do it," because he doesn't make anyone do anything.
Thanks, Flip Wilson.
But what he is really good about is causing you to doubt, offering up lies, or even just offering up suggestions to get you to make up your own lie to believe. Right? Like,
right.
Because he didn't even lie to Eve. He said,
"No.
Did God really say that you can't do that? Mm-hmm. Or did God really say that you'll surely die?" And it's that quick bit of doubt, that quick bit of maybe I should question what is true, that I think causes the downfall of people, and not only people, society. It's like, I think when you look at where America's at right now, where so many of our problems are because we've forgotten what is true, and we've settled for what can only be classified as a lie.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, man. It's a touchy subject.
It is.
But,
yeah.
The idea that men and women are different, right?
Yeah, that's a given. That's a given.
It's a given, but in the world we live in, it's almost taboo to say because we believed a lie that men and women are the same, but they're not.
No,
men are not women.
No,
and that shouldn't be
vice versa.
That shouldn't be controversial.
No, it should not.
But it is.
No, it should not.
Because we believe lies.
Yeah, I'm not a woman. I'm a man through and through, man.
Yeah, so being a man means I'm not a woman, and being a woman means that you're not a man, and that means being a woman means you can do things that men can't.
and vice versa. I mean, and that's just whether you like it or not, that's the limitations, and that's natural. That's biology. That's science. I mean, now I can go off on saying, these same people who will say climate change is all about science. Climate change is a science fact. Will be the very first ones to say, well, no, there are more than two genders. That's not science. But it is science. It's the same science they believe in for their climate change is the same science that it is biology saying there are only two genders. I mean, you can't have one science and not the other. Because I mean, a lot of these climate deniers or the climate change believers,
Right.
will say science is fact. You don't have to believe it. It is just what it is. Well, that's true of biology. It's another science. It's science fact. You don't have to believe it if it's true. It's just true. They don't. These climate change people, they won't get the connection there. I'm dumbfounded by their lack of honesty in that realm. But again, that's me.
So one of the things that's crazy about that, even the science behind climate change, right?
The supposed science, yeah.
Right. So part of the problem is that we live in a world that the science. How about this?
Don't be afraid.
I'm trying to find the right words to say it. Science isn't even doing. Science isn't even doing what science is supposed to do.
Yeah. Right? No, I hear you. I hear you on that. Yeah.
A recent example. There's this guy, Dr. Shiva, I believe, who's been looking into vaccines.
Oh yes.
And their safety and efficacy. Efficacy.
Sure. That's a word.
So,
that's a real word.
How safe they are and how effective they are.
that's the word. Yes.
But one of the things he pointed out is that he comes from a biomedical engineering background. He's got a PhD, right? So he's a doctor technically.
Sure.
But he points out that they bring him in on engineering projects for medical stuff, and they want to test how safe it is, how does it work, where would it break, what are the stress points, all that. And no one's done any of that testing for vaccines. So he's like, well, there should be, double-blind placebo studies for any drugs before they go out. But we don't have those for vaccines. So for 30 of the most common vaccines, we just don't have that data.
Right.
But everyone still says it's safe and effective. Now, I'm not saying don't vaccinate your kids. Get them vaccinated. Your wife had arguments about that, but that's okay.
I'll leave it up to you. That's your choice.
Yeah, I think there is a good place for vaccines.
Okay.
But I think my big question is, if we're going to say this medicine is safe for kids, we really should have that data.
Yes. Yes, true.
We would expect it out of any other kind of medication. It's absurd that we don't have it with those. And on top of that, we don't have any data testing the dangers of giving multiple vaccines at the same time, right?
Right. No, absolutely. I actually, referring to, there's a movie, Vaxxed, by Mercola. And I have not watched it. It's an hour and a half long. I have not watched it yet. But it's about how vaccines... I have it here. I'll bring the link up right now. But basically, it's a great movie, and it was made several years ago. Dr. Mercola, he used very scientific evidence to show that vaccines, specifically the MMR, a month measles rubella vaccine, is not trustworthy. It has been proven to be not. His evidence proved it was not trustworthy. Now he did say maybe get individual shots, kind of contradicting himself, but it's questionable. You gotta look at these vaccines. With the material that's in them, the chemicals that are in them, the mercury that's in these vaccines, the various how these vaccines are made. It's just. Right. Too many kids have been harmed, even killed, by these vaccines. I mean, now, it is questionable whether a vaccine causes autism. I mean, if a kid had autism before he had the vaccine, it's hard to say.
Right.
So I'm not going to go there. But it's still... If I had kids, and I don't have kids of my own, but if I had kids, I surely wouldn't get them vaccinated. I would not do it. That's personal. I would not do it.
Right. Well,
I just don't trust them.
So my whole point of that is, if we're going to say we're going to trust the science, well, there's a scientific process that should be followed.
Yeah,
to get
it has to be a process.
Data.
Absolutely.
The problem is we're using science in a way that it wasn't meant to be used when it comes to planning the world. We don't have the actual data on a lot of the vaccines that you would need to make the judgment calls on, is this drug safe?
Exactly.
And the same thing with climate. Even the scientific models that they use to project, saying, if we don't do something dramatic in the next 12 years, we may not be able to reverse anything. The problem is, one, we don't have enough data, and there's so many variables that you can't make an accurate representation of what the world is going to be like 100 years from now, based on, a chart with more than 3 variables. You know what I mean?
I'm getting an error on the page I'm trying to pull up. I apologize.
No, it's all good.
Exactly. No, that's completely.
I mean, we can't even predict the weather at the end of the week, let alone the end of the month. So it's absurd to say, you know what? I know for a fact that the weather in 100 years is going to be so bad that the world's going to be flooded. Like sea levels are going to rise.
No, right.
So many feet,
which have been proven not to happen,
right.
Not to be.
Well,
true.
not only that, if it was at all plausibly real, the way in which people invest would change.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
I'm leaving now.
Okay.
So,
no worries. I'll see you again soon.
okay, cool.
Okay, have a good night, my friend. See you later, my friend Philippe.
Yep.
Good man.
Back to what I was saying, like the way we invest would be different, right? You wouldn't build anything on the coast if you knew that in the next 20 years the sea levels are going to rise, several feet.
Right,
but people are still investing in Miami, right? People are still investing in LA and San Francisco and all these coastal cities.
And those who build on a coast or on a what's the word? What's the word for it? My brain's going. I'm getting tired already. Jeez. On cliffs. On cliff. That's the word I'm looking for. Cliffs. And then they complain, well, the cliff is eroding. Well, yeah, that's natural erosion. The earth does erode. I mean, it does. Right. It does its cycles. That's all it is. Climate change is a cycle. We have. Earth has hot periods. It has cold periods. It's like a woman. It has its variables.
Right.
Okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but whatever.
It's all good. It's not wrong. But what's funny is, even to that, we were in a cooling period.
Yeah.
Not too long ago.
Exactly.
We were afraid we were going to enter a new ice age.
I mean, hell, in the 70s, in the 60s, there were magazine covers saying the new ice age is coming.
Right.
Well, what happened to the ice age? Oh my gosh, it never arrived. Wow.
Right.
Because again, Earth is in a cycle. Now, these climate change people will say it didn't arrive because our automobiles, our gas fumes are creating the heat. The climate change, the global warming, the carbon dioxide is infiltrating. It's the hole in the ozone and what have you.
That hole closed itself up.
God. Yes. Oh,
I remember that was a
I'm
huge...
sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
I did a report on that as a student. I think
the ozone, the giant hole in the ozone because so the heat rays from the sun. Again, not realizing that's the sun. It's part of the system.
Right.
It's part of the cycle.
Well, it's a huge part of the variable that we can't control.
No, we can't control
the sun.
We cannot control.
We can't control the rotation of the Earth.
We cannot.
Right? Remember, the axis is actually flipped several times. In Earth's history.
Magnetic field as well as otherwise.
That's changed temperatures worldwide.
Again, that's natural.
But that's one of those things that we're afraid that the small part we're doing, CO2, is going to
is practically nil.
Well,
compared to the overall what the Earth naturally creates.
Right. Well, not only that. If you think about it, CO2 is what plants breathe.
Yeah, exactly. They breathe it. They create oxygen from it.
If we increase CO2 in the air, that should increase plant life.
Yeah, what is a greenhouse? What is a greenhouse?
Right. Because, and on the flip side, when you get a lot of plants, you get an Earth with a higher oxygen level.
Okay, but then these same people will obviously be complaining, well, like the Amazon. We're burning the Amazon. We're destroying the lungs of the Earth, as they call the Amazon, which it isn't, but anyways. It's natural to use the plants, to repopulate the plants. They'll grow back. They, in turn, help us, humans. We help them. We're not going to destroy this planet, people. We humans are minuscule in terms of the size and scope. I mean, there's 7 billion of us, 7-point-something billion of us, and even if there was 20 billion of us, we could not destroy this planet. Right. It's not feasible.
Well, yeah,
we're not God. I mean, again, I'm an agnostic. This is an agnostic talking. I know we are not that powerful.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Humans, if in some crazy world we did overheat the planet somehow, I guarantee you life would still go on. Things would adapt and change.
No, absolutely.
I mean, if life survived multiple ice ages and heating periods before, it'll find a way to do it again.
Oh, absolutely, it will. It will. It's called adaptation.
Yeah, all that to say, I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't take care of our planet. I'm not saying we shouldn't.
Clean
make
water
less polluting.
is vital to humans existing. So,
Right.
Yeah.
We should make less polluting things. We should clean up our oceans. We should protect the fish.
Yeah. I'm not saying we purposely destroy the planet. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we don't need these heavy regulations, these untoward excuses to save the planet.
Right.
We don't need to make extra effort. We just do what's natural to put your trash in a trash bin and put it in these locations that are set aside for trash. It will decompose over time. The earth will use it, and we'll be okay.
Right. All that goes back to the point. So I guess we can wrap it up pretty soon.
Yeah,
late.
An hour and a half. Yeah.
The idea that if you believe a lie, right? If you believe that human beings are going to destroy the planet due to the amount of CO2 you produce,
Oh, right.
it will cause you to do some pretty bad and dramatic things. What's funny is that particular lie, I don't think people actually believe. Because if they did, right, if you really believed that we were going to do irrevocable damage to our planet if we don't stop using CO2 in the next 12 years, you wouldn't get on another plane, right?
Right.
You wouldn't drive a car, right? Especially if you had the money to do so. You know what I mean? Like, show me any celebrity who couldn't find a way to live in whatever city they wanted to and not drive a car. Of course they could, right?
Yeah.
They could, any celebrity, if they wanted to, they could say, you know what, we're never flying again. Sell my private jet. Actually, don't sell it. Dismantle it, because I don't want anyone else to use it.
Tell it to Prince Harry, please.
Right. And you know what? I'm not going to get a
Leo.
car, but I'm gonna hire a guy to go to the grocery store on a bike and get all of my groceries, locally sourced. And they could do that, but they don't, and they don't do it for the same reason the banks still invest in places that would, for sure, get ran over by water if the climate was going to change dramatically and the water levels were going to rise multiple feet in the next couple of years.
Excuse me.
It's all good. But that's because people don't actually believe that lie, although some people do. And
There's my CO2.
It's the cows. But it causes some pretty dramatic things. Like, one of the things that scares me about our future is you have poor girls like this girl Greta.
Oh.
Right?
Greta Thunberg.
And, like, I honestly feel bad for the girl because...
Yeah, well, she has autism.
Well, so. not just that. The thing that gets me is that if what she's saying, she fully believes that they have destroyed her dreams...
Well, maybe she does. I don't know.
because of global warming. Like, how sad of a life is that to think that the generation before you completely destroyed your chance at a future? Like... The fact that there are people who are contemplating not having kids because they think the world's going to end in a few years because of global warming is sad.
It is.
And crazy. Like, people stopped having kids and they thought, oh no, Y2K, it's going to be the end of the world, right?
Oh my gosh, Y2K, that was so much fun.
And that year made a lot of people do some crazy, stupid stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my own father, he was a believer in the Y2K that would crash the computers, that would crash the economy. And, now... briefly on Y2K, we did stock up on a few, minor food, like rice, the basics. We did stock up a bit, thinking that it might be wise to do so. What my thinking on that is that, actually Y2K did happen, but it was avoided because we talked about it, because we prepared for it, because we told it, because we insisted that it not happen the way it could have happened. So we did prepare for it. We did change the clocks on the computers. We did fix the code. We did do all these things that needed to be done so that the economy would not crash, so that the computers would not destroy our civilization. So did it happen? Yes, but it was prevented from happening.
Yes,
what I'm saying is that I guess what I'm saying is that did not happen, but we stopped it from happening.
Right. I think the difference is people actually thought the world was going to end.
Yeah.
Like, not just that all the systems were going to fail.
It would have, had we not discussed it, had we not actually taken action to prevent it from happening, had we not gone through the code and changed the code and all those computers that needed to be changed and prevented it from happening. Now, I remember hearing a story that like in Switzerland or somewhere overseas, some trains ground to a halt at midnight local time because their computers crashed.
Really?
But here in America, nothing big happened. At the stroke of midnight, I remember where I was. on that evening, I was in Oakhurst actually at my grandparents' home, celebrating New Year's, there with my family up in Oakhurst at the time. And at the stroke of midnight, the lights stayed on, TV stayed on. The ball fell in New York. 3 hours later, obviously, but
Right.
With the time difference and all that. But the point is that nothing major happened here in America, and I do believe it was because we talked about it for years in advance. Because we didn't just talk about it, but we said, well, this needs to be done, let's get it done.
Right.
And so because we acted upon our fear of the economy falling apart, the nation falling apart because things would stop, civilization would be changed, we prevented civilization from being changed, at least how we understand civilization.
That's fair. And I think, if it ever comes to the point where sea levels do start to rise and the temperatures do get too hot, we'll adapt again.
Oh, yeah,
we'll make
humans
new
adapt.
systems, we'll move. People will leave the coast.
Yeah,
and they'll move
whether
inland.
you believe in that humans are, several thousand plus years old or just a few thousand, we always adapt.
Right.
I mean, whether it be the caveman or just recent humans, we have always adapted to our current situation, to whatever the situation is in the moment. And that's not just human, that's nature. We're a part of nature. Yeah. We humans, this building is a part of nature. It's man-made, sure, but it's using materials that were found in nature, essentially. I mean, sure, we changed them around, perhaps. We changed their chemical compositions, their molecular compositions, but essentially, everything we see comes from the Earth. Yeah. At some point, it did. It started as a product of the Earth. We just changed it to our needs. I mean, what I'm looking at here, concrete, paint, it's all Earth-based. It's just changed into a form where we can utilize it for heavy-duty purposes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all those who say that we're not living in nature in the cities, the city is a form of nature. City life, it may not be the nature of, mountains and streams and big, tall trees.
Yeah.
It's still a form of nature.
That's a tricky thing for me.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I view. I view the city as a form of nature. Humans are living.
I see what you're saying. I still think.
Natural. Yeah.
Well, there's
that's
something
a different
about city
item,
living
but...
that I don't think is natural for human beings.
Okay.
In the way we currently have it.
Sure.
So I do think human beings were made to make cities.
Yeah.
I just think there are better ways to make cities than what we currently do.
Sure.
And there are things about the way in which we operate in cities that I think strip human beings of things that are essentially human and make them go crazy. Hear me out. There's a study somebody did on rats.
Oh, not familiar with this one.
So it's pretty great. They put rats in a city and they give the rats all the food they need. I think it was 3 generations in. The rats literally destroyed themselves.
Hadn't heard this one. Okay.
I got to pull it up.
Sure. We'll have to put that in our show notes.
We'll have to put it in the show notes. But basically, rats... So it affected rats in a way where they literally went stir crazy. And I think you can see some of that same behavior happening in people in cities where...
No, absolutely.
To a lesser degree. But I think people were made to know... Like, we should actually be a little bit more connected to the food we eat. We should be...
No, right. No, I hear you on that,
our neighbor. We should know our neighbors.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, we should. I have to admit, I don't know my neighbors. I mean, they're just right down the street. I know maybe one of them by name, and that's about it. We don't know them well enough to say, hey, come on over, a week, every week or whatever. I kind of wish we did, because they'd probably be cool people to hang with, but I don't know. So yeah, true. We don't know our neighbors well enough.
So I'm not sure which one is the best one to look at.
Okay.
But I think there's a Mouse Utopia experiment.
Mouse Utopia. Okay.
So I know Joe Rogan did a talk on it. I know there's this one called Today I Found Out. He has a
a Whistler. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like watching his videos. Yeah. I keep saying James. It's Simon Whistler. Yeah. The British guy. Mm-hmm. He does some good videos. I've watched many of them.
Right. So there's a couple of ones, but basically, putting enough rats on top of each other in a city doesn't work for them. I think putting enough human beings in a small space doesn't work for human beings. That's why I think you find depression a little bit higher in cities than
Oh
outside
yeah,
of cities, right?
and crime, crime in general. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, look at Chicago.
Right. So I'm not saying people shouldn't live in cities, but the way we live in cities.
I'm not saying everyone. I'm not saying everyone will succumb to crime. No, that doesn't.
Right.
No, I'm not making a blanket statement there. I'm just saying that it is more prevalent in
And I
that
think it's part of the
situation
nature of
because
cities.
humans want to be free. Humans want to
Right.
be able to operate, at their whim and not be so. What's the word? What's the word? I guess in such a closed space.
Right.
I lived in several cities. I've lived in Modesto. I've lived in Turlock. I've lived in Livermore. And I just can't take it. I can't take city life. I really
It's
can't.
Even
It's not fun.
Even down to sunlight. The human body needs sunlight.
Yeah,
know what I mean?
sunlight. Yeah, right.
But you can, in large enough cities, you can go days without getting any sunlight.
Sad but true.
Right?
Yes. If you're like New York, for example, I've never lived in New York. I've never even been to New York. But
don't even have to go to
from what I
New York.
understand, you can, because they have the subway, and,
Right.
and you can. That's all underground.
Yeah.
I guess parts of the subway are above ground, but
Right. But you can go days
yeah.
without getting the sun there. Like you can do that in Fresno.
Or a decent
you know?
amount of sun. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that in Fresno. I know people who work in the AT&T building.
Oh,
In
yeah,
that building is like a dungeon.
right.
Once you're inside, there's no windows.
Essentially, it is. Yeah,
So
there's no windows.
If
Yeah.
you work in there in the basement, let's say you go in early.
Yeah,
one
before
day,
dawn.
Before dawn.
Right, and you come
Right,
out
and you
after
come
dawn.
out
And you
late,
come out
after
after
dawn.
dark. Yeah, you
Come
have
after
an
dark.
10-hour day, whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah,
And you could live and miss a
12-hour
whole
day.
week of sunlight. You know?
you could. It's possible. It is possible. Yeah.
So I think
Sad,
there's
but-
things about city life that we haven't. And people are starting to. We're starting to add more green areas.
Oh
starting
yeah,
to
no,
add more,
absolutely. Yeah,
space.
yeah.
But I think city life is one of those things where it's like, oh, yes, people can live in cities. People should live in cities, but we really should think through our cities being places for human beings to live rather than just stacks of buildings to cram as many people in.
Right.
Anyways,
Yeah. It is
super late.
It is super late. It is 19:35 hours, and we've gone over an hour and a half on this recording because, well, we can. But
not?
yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here. I think I'll play a tune to take us out. I found this online. It's a copyright-free piece of audio. It's titled "Good for You."
Cool.
So I figured, what's better than listening to some good for you music? I haven't actually listened to this yet, so I don't know how it sounds, but I'm assuming it sounds good. And well, thank you all for listening. This is the John and Will Show. This is episode 2, and we'll post show notes with our show link later on.
Yep.
So until next time, y'all have a wonderful evening, and here's Good for You.